This is Rally Around the Cannon. Some thoughts on Princeton's history by somebody who should know better. As a colorful cog in the virtual reach of Princeton, flinging its tiny orange and black electrons around the space-time continuum, it behooves me to contend that you can participate fully in the life of the university at a distance, whether webbishly, glossy, magazinishly, or conversationally. Today's item, alas, will prove this to be a crock. You must come to Princeton before October 30th. Not to see the football team necessarily. You have to give a new coach a couple years to find the bathroom. But certainly to visit an alignment of Princeton's non-gridiron stars in Nassau Hall's faculty room. The display is called Inner Sanctum, and it is an experience unique to the place, the genius loci, as Professor Toni Morrison would say. 5 years or so in the making, the Art Museum project actually includes multiple working parts: the cleaning and repair of many of the portraits, including all of Princeton's former presidents, and of the stunning woodwork details in the room too. The restoration of the super-historical frame of Charles Willson Peale's George Washington at the Battle of Princeton, a history colloquium to be held this fall, a freshman seminar, and significantly a first-rate volume and catalog of history, reflections and color plates capturing the room at this moment. That's important because it will be broken up in part again on November 1st. Washington returns to the Art Museum to be replaced by another Peale version. And while Inner Sanctum is a really good book, it cannot even passingly be a substitute for being in the room, in large part because of the final element of the current upsprucing. The room's lighting has been redone in exquisite detail, and the result transforms drab Presbyterian ministers into what Art Museum curator Carl Cusserow terms household deities in the book, and transforms great men into icons. It has to be seen to be believed and felt. The simplest example is the most effective. Neither the largest nor the smallest of the 33 portraits in the room, that of President James McCosh on the west wall, is completely typical, with an almost black background and a simple pose. In his case, a seated profile at some reserve from the viewer, sort of a Whistler's mother's second cousin. Now, many of the paintings are actually rather mediocre, an important point made by Cusserow in the history text in the catalog. But this one, by the famed John White Alexander, from life, is not only artistic but dominating. The new point of light on the 75-year-old face, with all else in shadow, serves the same purpose as the translucence of stained glass. It glows, it breathes, it demands attention. McCosh's authority and wisdom control the entire room, as they did the entire college, from the day he arrived from Scotland in 1868 till long after his death in 1894. He faces away from the old King George II and George Washington and out toward the open north door and Fitz-Randolph Gate, imposing his ideas and ideals on his legatees. If you don't come to the faculty room before October 30th and visit him, he'll know. And remember, There's one facet to the discussion surrounding Inner Sanctum that leaves me uncomfortable, though. It has been accurately but insistently pointed out through the book and publicity that when the next presidential portrait is installed, following the next retirement, it will represent a dramatic change. Our fine Shirley has something special that the 33 dead white guys don't. Okay, fine, the first woman, the first person of color, these will be highly visible on the walls of history. But what of Bill Bowen of the graduate class of 1958? He's the very first president there who was neither a Presbyterian minister nor the son of one. He's also currently very not dead, to be picky. If you think this unimportant, walk into the chapel nearby and look around for a minute. And what of Harold Shapiro of the graduate class of 1964? Also not dead, by the way. Our first Jewish president took office only 30 years following Dirty Bicker, the all-time nadir of Princeton's habitually low relationship with the Jewish community. There has always been substantial radical change to be observed in the many nooks and brushstrokes in the faculty room. Witherspoon's Declaration of Independence and Madison's Constitution are modest examples that come to mind. There always will be. So what? The purpose of the faculty room itself has never been and needn't be changed. The faculty and trustees generate plenty of that from the faux House of Commons benches there, and rightly so. But the point is instead the continuity and consistent expectation of the entire institution and its underlying principles. As beautifully explained by Cusserow in the book, Princeton has chosen through portraits of Washington and its centuries of leaders, and even George II, who probably didn't know where New Jersey was, Princeton has chosen to convey its permanence and fundamental beliefs, highest among them the Enlightenment insistence that optimistic reason trumps authority. As Madison put it, conscience is the most sacred of all property. So it is not only fitting, but fortuitous, that Professor Morrison's remarks on the power of genius loci are included in the catalog as they apply to the faculty room. She terms this the place of the idea of the place. In considering her admonition that Princeton remain and flourish as a preserve of free thought, of independent inquiry, of simple caring for, we can, standing in the faculty room, watch McCosh as he not only concurs but forcefully cites passages from both Darwin and the Gospels to drive his point home. A wee bit of motivation, that. Yours in virtual orange and black, this is Greg Lang of the great class of 1970. Rally Round the Cannon is a podcast from the Princeton Alumni Weekly online.